Hello, welcome to the HGST Channel Marketing Tap into Sales and Discover Cloud Storage webcast. Today's presenter is Andy Dorian, Senior Account Manager for HGST. In today's sales cast, we will give you a deeper look at the cloud customer subsegments, customer buying behaviors, values, and triggers. And lastly, we'll share some easy tips for sales and go-to-market strategies. Really quickly, a few housekeeping notes to begin. As you entered into the WebEx console, you'll notice that this event is being streamed through your computer speakers via the WebEx media player. Please keep the media player open at all times. If you had to join via the teleconference, please note your phone lines were automatically muted and will remain this way throughout the webcast. We will be using written Q&A during today's event, and to ask a question at any time, please enter your question in the panel, which appears at the bottom right hand of the console. Please enter them as you think of your questions. If you are in full screen mode, it'll be located at the top of the screen to the far right. Click on the arrow and select Q&A from the drop-down menu. Please leave the WebEx chat window open for communications to our WebEx facilitators for any problems or issues you may be experiencing. Today's program is being recorded and will be available for viewing. At the end of the session, there will be a short survey that will pop up when you close your browser, and if you can, please take a minute to complete the survey. We would greatly appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to introduce Andy Dorian, Senior Account Manager at HGST.
Thank you, Susie. Hello, everyone. I am Andy Dorian, and I am one of the account managers in North America focused on selling to the cloud market. Over the past year, the computing market has changed substantially. After visiting several customers, I have been able to summarize my sales cycle into 5 key steps. Number 1, knowing the market. Number 2, targeting the customer. Number 3, understanding the customer needs. Number 4, convincing them of the importance of TCO. And lastly, and most importantly, actually providing the customer with the TCO savings. First and most importantly, you want to earn credibility with the customer. So you want to talk to the cloud opportunity in the most commonly done approach. As you can see from the numbers listed on this slide, in 1 minute, the internet demands of computer hardware is substantial. To give you an idea of how fast this segment is growing, as of June 2012, a year after this image was created, there were almost 300,000 tweets a minute, almost 3 times the growth in 1 year. The chart on the left shows that the growth of the internet will increase demand of storage at the exabyte level. If you know, the current drives are shipping at 4 terabytes, then it goes to petabyte and then to exabyte. And an exabyte equals 250,000 4 terabyte drives. The second part is knowing the market trends. Obviously, you want to focus your sales efforts on the customers that are taking advantage of these trends. The shift to the cloud is creating several trends in the market around the technology, customers, vendors, and the overall supply chain. The sales cycle has been affected by the top 3. First, the supply chain is flattening, creating fewer touch points to get to the end user. Second, unlike a consumer using a Mac at Starbucks, the IT engineer in the data center does not care about the brand. He only cares about the product working. Third, startups used to require massive investments from VCs. Now, startups can scale with the cloud to lower the initial investment. An example of this is Instagram building their infrastructure inside of AWS until they were bought by Facebook. After you are an expert on the market and the trends, now you need to focus on understanding the customer. It all begins with the person deciding to use the cloud. First, the business manager decides to use the cloud when the solution will help with the productivity, like the way Box helps with intercompany collaboration. On the other hand, the IT manager takes a different approach. They focus on the security and reliability of the infrastructure because they are the ones that get called when it does not work. Third, the consumer. We are all consumers, so we all have our own interpretation on this one. But basically, it's a lot easier to research on Google for something than it is to look through a mountain full of books in the library. Now, the decision makers have three ways to use the cloud. First, cloud services. This is the typical way consumers and business managers choose to use the cloud. Second, cloud utilities. An IT manager will typically decide how much these utilities will be used in the overall IT strategy. And finally, a good example of a company deciding to build their own cloud is a company very concerned with security, like a financial institution. So let's dig a little deeper into the supply chain of the build your own or do-it-yourself cloud market. Depending on the size and scalability required by the decision maker, the partner will be chosen accordingly. For instance, if the deployment of the cloud is 2 servers per month, the decision maker will probably choose to partner with an OEM like HP, Dell, or EMC. If the customer grows over a couple of years and now is deploying 100 servers a month, they might look to alternative channels like system integrators or platform vendors. If the customer grows to deploying 20,000 servers a month, the decision maker definitely got a job at the right company and will probably hire some internal resources like a mechanical and electrical engineer to design their own hardware and outsource the manufacturing to an ODM to build it for them. On the other hand, if the decision maker does not choose to build their own cloud, like a startup, they will choose a cloud utility provider to help meet their needs. A big change in this market is the provider now takes ownership of the hardware. This allows the utility provider to break down services by computer process rather than computer hardware. There are a lot of companies offering these services, and most of these companies offer more than one utility. Amazon AWS, the leader in the service provider of all utilities available, I assume that all of these companies will do the same. They will all want to provide these utilities. Now that you understand the customer's key decision, let's talk about how to help make their decision easier. Regardless of whether they are building their own cloud or utilizing a cloud utility provider, the decision implemented will be justified by TCO. The wheel of this slide gives you all of the elements that contribute to the TCO of storage. Similar to the difference of supply chain, each of these elements become more important as the server deployment increases. With a 2-server deployment, chances are the acquisition cost and the power is most important. With a 100-server deployment, reliability and physical space become more important. With a 20,000-server deployment, every element is important. At that deployment level, quarters can add up to millions of dollars. So after you have the customer sold on the importance of TCO, how does HGST deliver TCO savings to its customers? First, you have to think about the fact that hard drives and solid-state drives are more than 50% of the cost of storage hardware. That makes us one of the most important components to lowering the data center's TCO. That helps us understand how HDDs and SSDs help lower TCO, but how does HGST do that better than competitors? HGST is able to help the data centers with that cost by providing very high quality products to help with long-term reliability. As you may remember from the TCO slide, customers with larger server deployments use reliability as a key element to their TCO calculations. That is why we have substantial market share in all of the enterprise storage segments. And lastly, we believe that our current portfolio is only the beginning. We will continue to offer the best TCO-based product portfolio with the deployment of our revolutionary helium-based hard drives. Now that we are all experts in selling to the cloud, let's begin the Q&A session. If I am unable to get to your question or you want a detailed response, please feel free to email or call me anytime. I will answer it directly. Okay, our first question is, when will the new Helium platform start shipping? Unfortunately, we have only announced the platform. The only information I have at this time is what was publicly presented on the Investor Day in September. Our second question, will you be sending a copy of this presentation to us after the event? Yes, a copy of the presentation will be posted out there, or we can send it to you via email. I would also recommend reviewing our webinar on TCO covered by Mike Alexanko and Clint Ludeman. As you can see, I only had one slide on that topic, and that deserves a whole set of slides on its own. How is HGST positioned to help channel salespeople get more business from the cloud? I think our best chance of closing business in the cloud is to partner together. A lot of the customers are called on by multiple vendors, and when you partner between two companies and you both have a strong pitch together, they're much more likely to win. That's mostly how I've won my accounts. A good example of a success story is probably, there's a lot out there. HGST does very well in this market because we have a very, very good TCO offering. One of the most recent design wins for me was the Netflix account. If you want the details on the technology, they actually post that publicly on their blog. It's kind of like an open compute or open stack mentality. Another question is, what is the competitive edge, if any? Well, HGST, I think, or hard drives in general, have a competitive edge on the cloud market because of the amount of cost they are for the overall data center. I mean, it's not just acquisition cost. To power these drives for the 3 to 5 year life that they're expected is a big expense. If a drive fails, the replacement of it, you have to pay someone to be on the floor to replace the drive, and so it's a big expense for the data center. I think the advantage for HGST is definitely around the reliability. When you're able to cut down the failures, it saves a lot of cost, and it also saves potential intangible costs, right? If you lose someone's data, what does that do to your brand? So I think that's probably our biggest advantage right now. And so another question is, what security risk can there be with investing in third-party cloud storage? I think it depends on the provider. I know certain providers provide a different level of security. There's different data centers as well. I've been to a data center which has multiple levels where every door you go through you have to sign in electronically and also on paper. So that's just to give you an idea of the physical security. Cyber security, I'm sure there's different levels. You know, if they put multiple firewalls or whatnot, you probably have to research based on the provider you're looking at. I know, like for instance, with data reliability, certain providers, they will provide multiple copies of the data across regions. Other ones will just rely on RAID 6 in a single data center. Some will co-locate. They all use different strategies, and if you're going to pick between providers, I would recommend asking those questions of the individual provider. Another question is, what can we expect from HGST in the future roadmap? So I think what you'll see from us is the capacity is growing at the exabyte level, so you're going to see much more dense hard drives. I think on the other side, you're also going to see a robust SSD platform because performance is also a requirement of the data center. So you'll see both solutions from us. If you want, if you want to know more about the roadmap, I would suggest contacting me directly, and we can go through that. I mean, we have many roadmaps. One's under NDA, which gives you a lot more information. So if we have an NDA in place, I can share a lot more details. Another question, why are we offering both 512E and 512N options for the same 4 terabyte capacity? It's a great question. Currently, areal density is slowed to about 20% growth per year. And the difference between 512E and 512N is about 10% of the areal density. So 512E allows us about 6 months advance of a new capacity. Some customers, especially in the cloud market, are able to take 512E. So it allows us to meet the needs of their requirements 6 months earlier. The 512N is more of a legacy platform, so a lot of our customers still require that. So it allows us to hit both first to market and all of our customer base at the same time. Is there any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. If you have any more questions, please send them to me in email. Give me a call. I'm very open. I'll tell you anything you need to know. Thank you for joining us today.